Radhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Kukulananda Radha Kukulananda Radha Kukulananda Shri Radhe Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Sit down. Sure, thank you. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvarjagajara Asasasata Srimad. His Divine Grace Bhakti Sri Prabhupada Ki. His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki. Srila Hari Das Thakur Ki. Premsi Goji Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nishana Sri Vita Kadar Sri Radha Ki. Shri Radha Shri Gopinath. Sorry, Radha Gopinath Ki. Sorry. Krishna Gopinath Giri Gordana Ki. Vrinda Devi Ki. Sorry, Tulsi Marani Ki. Radha Gokunanda Ki. Sorry, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Ki. Gauranitai Ki. And all glories to the Sankirtan movement. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. Krishna. Thank you. So please forgive me, I'm a bit lack of sleep. Just it was a late night last night. Sorry. Om Gyanartimyandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakchurun Militanyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitanyena Bhutaye Swayam Rupa Kadadmayam Kadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sagana Ragana Tam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadavetam Savadutam Prijnadatam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Haripre Vancha Kalpa Tarubhasya Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Petitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Thank you. Before we begin speaking today, I'd like to seek your blessings that maybe I'll speak something worthwhile. I know today is an auspicious day as well, so hopefully we can all get some very nice benefits in devotional life. Vanchakalpa Drubasya Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanavyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Sutta Uvacha Sanchodita Stena Shatracho Ravirmuni Prita Pratyatan Prasanan Riddhistan Atta Bhagava Sutta Uvacha Evam Sanchoditastena Shatra Kosa Ravirmuni Prati Pratyahatan Prasnan Riddhistan Atta Bhargava Sutta Uvacha Evam Chansoditastena Shatra Kosara Virmuni Prata Pratyaha Tan Prasnan Riddhistan Atta Bhargava Sutta Uvacha Evam Sanchoditaslena Shatra Kosara Virmuni Pita Pratyaha Tan Prasnan Riddhistan Atta Bhargava. You would Sutta Uvacha Evam Sochaditastena Shatra Kosara Virmuni Prita Pratyatan Prasnan Riddhistan Atta Bhargava. Sutta Uvacha Evam Sanchoditastena Shatra Prasara Virmuni Prita Pratyatan Prasnan Riddhistan Atta Bhargava. Sutta Uvacha Evam Sanchoditastena Satra Kosara Virmuni Prita Pratyahatan Prasnan Riddhistan Atta Bhargava. Sutta Uvacha Evam Sanchoditastena Shatra Kosara Virmuni Prita Pratyahatan Prasnan Riddhistan Atta Bhargava. And ladies, please. Sutta Uvacha Evam Sanchoditastena Shatra Kosara Virmuni Prita Pratyahatan Prasnan Riddhistan Atta Bhargava. Sutta Uvacha Evam Sanchoditastena Shatra Kosara Virmuni Prita Pratyahatan Prasnan Riddhi stan atta bhargava. Okay, so the word for word, if you can please repeat after me. Sutta Uvacha. Sri Sutta Goswami said, Evam, thus, Sanchoditaha, being enlivened, Jena, and by him, Shatra, Vidura, Kosaravi, the son of Koshara, Muni, great sage, Pritaha, being pleased, Pratyaha, replied, Tan, those, Prasnan, questions, Riddhistan, from the core of his heart, Atta, thus, Bhargava, O son of Bhrigu. And the translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Sri Prabhupada Ki. Sutta Goswami said, O son of Bhrigu, the great sage Maitreya Muni, thus hearing from Bradura, felt very much enlivened. Everything was in his heart, and thus he began to reply to the questions, one after another. So if you can please repeat after me. Sutta Goswami said, O son of Bhrigu, the great sage Maitreya Muni, thus hearing from Vidura, felt very much enlivened. Everything was in his heart. And thus he began to reply to the questions one after another. And purport. The phrase Sutta Uvacha, Sutta Goswami said, appears to indicate a break in the discourse between Maharaj Parikshit and Sukadev Goswami. While Sukadev Goswami was speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, Sutta Goswami was only one member of a large audience. But Sutta Goswami was speaking to the sages of Namasharanya, headed by the sage Shaunaka, a descendant of Sukadev Goswami. This, however, does not make any substantial difference in the topics under discussion. So here we have, as mentioned, it's a break in the discourse between Maharaj Parikshit and Sukadev Goswami. So at the beginning, the sages assembled in Namasharanya. Previously, before that, Maharaj Parikshit had heard the Srimad Bhagavatam from Sukadev Goswami. So previously, we were hearing the conversation between Sukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, but this conversation was narrated by Sutta Goswami. So at the time of the initial, when Maharaj Parikshit he renounced due to the takshak, the songbird, that he had 7 days to live, and as he went to the holy place, that actually there he actually received the Srimad Bhagavatam from Sukadev Goswami. So Sukadev Goswami, he heard the Srimad Bhagavatam within his mother's womb, in that sense. So he was very much enlightened. And Sutta Goswami was actually a disciple of Sutta Goswami, that he heard, he was in the assembly in the initial discourse. So in this sense, Sutta Goswami is repeating what he has heard from Sukadev Goswami. So here we have Sutta Goswami filling in a bit of information. Also in the purport, in the translation, Sutta Goswami, he addresses Maitreya Muni as O son of Bhrigu. We, on a bit of research on this, I could clearly see that, understand that Bhrigu is not Maitreya's father in that sense, but Maitreya Muni is in the same descendancy as Bhrigu, the same line in that sense. And also, it says in the purport, it says that it's headed by the sage Shaunika, a descendant of Sukadeva Goswami. In this sense, I wasn't quite clear in terms of what he sent. So I tried to do some research, but I couldn't find the actual link there, if anyone knows. So in terms of the actual the sages of Naimisharanya, they appear to actually enlighten, to discuss about what is the way to enlighten the people of Kali. So in that sense as well, they shared the Srimad Bhagavatam was also repeated, as they asked the question, what is the actual way to purify the people of the sage? So in that sense, what they actually spoke about was the holy names. So this is first from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishnesva damo bhagate dharma jnana sarbi saha kalo nasta drshamesha puranarko danoditaha. That is, the Srimad Bhagavatam is just like the sun, and it has risen just after the departure of Lord Sri Krishna along to his abode, who went to his abode, and then with the likes of religion and so on. So a general darkness ensued after Krishna left, which was actually the ensuing Kali Yuga. So it said from this Srimad Bhagavatam that the people in this age, that they can actually receive enlightenment, and it will help to mitigate the darkness from this age. So in the purport, it speaks about Maitreya Muni, and that he's just in terms of hearing from Vidura, that he felt very much enlivened. So this is due to his nature and devotional service. He's naturally he's feeling fulfilled in terms of his dharma, that these questions are giving him life, that to discuss about these in terms of these transcendental topics.
Could we show the purport on the screen?
Yeah. Okay, so there's a verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam also. Kirti ya deyato vishnam treteyam yajato make dwapare paricharyayam kalo tad arikirtanat. So in terms of the different cycles of time and the different yugas, there's Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. In Satya Yuga, everyone received enlightenment through meditation. Srila Prabhupada mentions that in Satya Yuga, Valmiki Muni meditated for 60,000 years. So it's completely a whole different age, time and circumstance, which is inconceivable in this current day and age. And then in Treta Yuga, there was, in terms of receiving enlightenment, the specific procedure for that current age was sacrifices. So these elaborate sacrifices. And then in Dwapara Yuga, the specific procedure was deity worship, worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord. And then in this current age of Kali Yuga, the Iron Age, so this is the age of darkness, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. So in this current age of Kali, what's recommended is Dari Kirtanat, the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. So in terms of the chanting of the holy names of the Lord, it's mentioned Harinama, 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 Kevalam, Kalonast, Evanast, Eva Gatiranitaha, that in this age of Kali, there is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way but the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. So, the chanting of the holy names, it might sound very strong, but it's actually very, very practical and so much mercy that it's not just been, fanatical. It's been very practical that in this age, the different procedures in the other ages they won't work in this age for the general mass of people. So in terms of general chanting of the holy name, that due to our fallen condition, it's very, very easy, very simple, and we can upraise our consciousness in a way that is very easy. So when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he met the impersonalist Prakasananda Saraswati, and in that sense he was somewhat the subject of ridicule by the impersonalists, that they thought this sannyasi appears to just be a sentimentalist, chanting and dancing. But in that case, it's actually the essence that, in terms of all the actual Vedic scriptures, as we can see is recommended, is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. So it says in the Bhagavad Gita, Kleshodika tarastesam avyakta jakta setasam avyakta hirgatir dukam deha vabhira vapiti, that for those on the impersonal past, advancement is very troublesome, and with great difficulties they actually achieve some sort of advancement. In this sense that for all their learning and Shastra, they, in one sense, they can be the ones that they'll achieve advancements, but an over-reliance on Shastra and so on can actually be the opposite in terms of being over-sentimental in terms of scripture and so on, and not actually understanding the true meaning in terms of the Shastra. So in terms of Maitreya Muni, I'm feeling very enlivened that it's mentioned Sarvasti Cham Riddhi Sanivisto Matahar Smiter Ganama Puhanam Cha Vedasajar Veraham Eva Vejo Vedanta Krid Veda Ved Eva Jam. So in terms of all our actual knowledge and remembrance comes from Krishna, and as is mentioned in this verse by the Vedas, that Krishna is to be known, that indeed he is Vedanta, and as Maitreya Muni has that actual, it says that everything was in his heart, that in terms of that knowledge, that he felt that actual inspiration, that he could actually answer the questions. So, as is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, that the Supreme Lord is situated within all our hearts, and he's directing the wanderings of all living entities. So it's a Yancha Rudani Maya, that we're simply situated on a machine made of the material energy. So in this current age, in trying to actually understand Dari Kirtanat, so Sri Prabhupada mentions it's actually in a conversation that he has. It's in the Science of Civilization, but he speaks about in terms of what is actually Hari Kirtanam. So Hari Kirtan. So this is actually glorification of the Lord. And glorification of the Lord, Sri Prabhupada expands that it's actually, of course, chanting the holy name, but there's more to that as well. That's the essence, but it has a broader meaning. So Hari Kirtan is glorification of the Lord. So it said, Chachivarna Maya Srastam Guna Karma Vivagasaha Vidyakartaram Apima Tasyakartaram Apimam Vidyakartaram Aviyam. That in terms of the different qualities and conditioning of the living entities, that we have different roles that we perform. So naturally these divisions are within society in terms of Sudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya and Brahmanas. So naturally they're Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki. So naturally there's these different qualities and the different works which are associated with them. So when we have actually specific dharmas, they can be dovetailed, and when they're actually dovetailed, that is really glorification of the Lord. Also in the Srila Prabhupada Leela Amrita, there's a pastime with Srila Prabhupada, and he's reading the newspaper. So he looks at different headlines, and he starts to suggest Krishna conscious alternatives, like suggestions, and then so he goes, this is also that people don't actually understand properly Hari Kirtan, that this is actually Hari Kirtan, which is simply everything to be turned into glorification of the Lord. So in terms of our actual this age of Kali, it said Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Kama Esha Krodha Esha Raja Gun Samudbhavaha Mahasano Mahapapma Vijayena Vihavarinam. That this whole world is simply it's the accumulation of lust, which is the all-devouring enemy of the world. So in terms of this this lust, which is born out of the mode of passion, that we all have our conditioned nature. So we all have so much conditionings which go back from so many lives. Prujo Prakriti Stohi, Punkti Prakriti Jangonan. That through so many lives, we've all been going through these different ways of life, and we're meeting with the different good and evil among various species. So there's through all the 8,400,000 different species of life, we've had so many different impressions, and these are so deeply rooted. So in terms of these different impressions, of course there's always a struggle. it said, Bandhuratmanastasya yenatmevatmana jitaha anatmanas tusatrudve vartate teva satruvat, that our mind can be the greatest friend or the greatest enemy. So in terms of how to actually in some way to actually mitigate the distresses of the mind and the accumulation, simply by just chanting, there's so many distresses and accumulation are cleared out. And an important part of that as well, which why Srila Prabhupada introduced, is actually deity worship, in terms of the deity, that if we actually want to focus our mind on Krishna, that the deity is of so much benefit, that Savai Mana Krishna Pada Ravindayor, that if we have our mind on the lotus feet of Krishna, that that's the perfection of life. Tadvag visargo janatago viplabo yasmin pratislokam abada vapibi namanyanantasya yaso nrititani yat shrivanti gayanti grananti sadava. That these literatures, even though imperfectly composed, they're full of transcendental knowledge about the Lord's name, form, pastimes and glories. So simply by actually focusing on the Lord, we can become completely enlivened and completely mitigate everything in the finest detail, to become completely refined. Yes, something that I wanted to actually mention also is that in terms of the actual chanting of the holy names, that it's good to just in terms of continuously just to keep chanting, that is actually to chant with quality and not quantity. So at the actual beginning of the creation, in terms of this chapter, and spoke about Lord Brahma, that Lord Brahma, he was born into darkness, and by his example, it actually showed all the living entities that we're all born into darkness, but simply by actually endeavor to know the truth, we can find fulfillment. If it's okay, I might actually share a poem that I wrote on this topic. I was simply inspired in terms of it naturally seeps into the consciousness, and I became inspired to write a poem about Lord Brahma, and in terms of his journey. Your eyes at first beheld that all was dark, a realm unknown of empty space and time. You sought to find a purpose to embark upon, but you found you had an uphill climb. The face of destiny you saw was veiled, and shed no light on what this life entailed. You did appear upon the lotus whirl, which sprouted from the navel of our Lord. O great self-born, you seemed a golden pearl, as you looked in directions unexplored. You found yourself bewildered, seeking truth, and all you viewed before you made no sense. Your intellect is said to find a route, and in that hour a journey did commence. But your endeavour came to no avail, for simply on our own we're bound to fail. And then, in time, the sound tapa you heard, a word that brings all that is great and true. Inside of you, a sense of duty stirred, and hence, a righteous course you did pursue. And you engage in great austerity by meditating for 100 years, and thus did reap profound prosperity, and soon beheld a sight to end one's fears. For you did see the Lord of all that be, and showed to souls the way of liberty. So that's just, it's a poem about Lord Brahma that basically he showed us the way to freedom. That of course his own endeavour it didn't actually bear any fruits, but when he heard the sound tapa, he took shelter, and by meditating for 100 years, the Lord was satisfied, and he received the blessings of the Lord. So this is simply the way that, in terms of everything that is liberty, only by dovetailing things with the Lord, is how we can actually get that freedom we're all seeking. So last night we had the Think Gita session, and there was a poetry and spoken word. So I shared this poem along with some other poems, and that's why I'm a little bit out of sorts this morning due to a late night that we got back maybe after midnight sometime. So it was a bit late, but so please forgive me for that as well. And I'd like to ask if there's any questions on what we've discussed. Yes, Drunabu. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
You mentioned that to be focused on Krishna, that's a way, if you can focus on Krishna, that's a way to mitigate all suffering problems. But point is that our mind is always somewhere else. What actually means to be focused on Krishna? Which aspect? There's so many aspects of Krishna. And even if you chant, they said chanting is at this age, focus on Krishna. But you can chant, there's a sound vibration enough, because our minds are always somewhere else. So is that really enough?
Certainly, yeah. Of course, Srila Prabhupada has given us the procedure with the four regulative principles and engaging in service. So Srila Prabhupada said that, simply by chanting, if someone tries to chant full time, their mind will go everywhere. Srila Prabhupada said, we're not Haridas Thakur, so we can't just chant all the time. And so it's a gradual process of becoming more and more attached to Krishna. And through the process, sadhana bhakti, engaging just in our daily service, morning program, simply will become focused on Krishna. We know that verse from the Shrisa Upanishad, Atachi Krishna Namadi Nabhavet Garyam Indriye Seva Mukhi Jiva Jo Swayameva Sabratya Adaha. That simply in terms of chanting, in terms of the Krishna's name, fame, form and pastimes, they'll all appear. So Krishna's name will naturally help us to focus more and more on, to keep Krishna in our mind. And all these chanting, and it'll build so many positive impressions that won't go in vain, that eventually that, like Srila said, to chant Hare Krishna 24/7, that we'll be able to always chant Hare Krishna and to always have Krishna in our minds, even in terms of Krishna's form and a gradual progression onto his pastimes.
Do you have any tips for people? I mean, you have a problems, you cannot focus on chanting, you cannot focus on Krishna.
Yeah.
So how you can go through all this? Give some tips for general masses, for us also. How to go through this?
Yeah. Based on my own realizations and the tips I can give is that that we have to keep on endeavoring. It's never going to be easy, the path to Krishna consciousness. And as I mentioned, in terms of service, something which, in terms of our actual our dharma, that it's Shreyans Dharma, that Shreyans Dharma Vigona, that if we do our duty, even though it's imperfect, rather than someone else's duty perfectly, simply just keep engaging in, to find our nature, to find somewhere that's comfortable for us, and then continue from there. And of course, with our full enthusiasm, that naturally by that endeavor, we'll achieve success. That Sri Prabhupada says in terms of Hari Kirtanat, glorifying the Lord, which means engaging in terms of all activities, that we will become immortal. So we'll identify with the soul and Krishna. I hope that's helpful. Thank you. Thank you.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
Bhaktivedanta Thakur summarizes this, and Sachinanda Maharaj, he quotes this, saying that if you do three things, your clearance back to Godhead is guaranteed. Nama Ruchi, Vaishnava Seva, and Jivadoya.
Mm.
So if you have these three things in your goal, in your life, then you get purity where you can go back to Godhead.
Yes.
You have to practice. You have to recite prayers, serve the Vaishnavas, in between help fallen souls. Then you get Lord Chaitanya's mercy.
Thank you very much, Srinivas Prabhu.
It's a quote from the explanation of the Mahamantra. It says here that it says, and when one is factually situated on the plane of understanding, surpasses all stages of the mental plane. This chanting of the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is directly enacted and surpasses the strata of consciousness, namely mental and intellectual. There's no need, therefore, to understand the language of the mantra, nor is there any need of chanting the Mahamantra. It springs automatically from the spiritual platform. Anyone can take part in this chanting without previous qualification and can dance in ecstasy. We've seen it practically. Even a child can take part in the chanting, and a dog can take part in it as well. So, there you go, just by chanting.
Thank you, Prabhu. So if there's any more questions, we might finish here. Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Shri Prabhupada Ki, all glories to Assembled Devotees. Hare Krishna. Yeah,
Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama